This morning on the podcast, I'd like to go through one activity that I have been, going through with employees of one of my clients. So, over here on the podcast, if you've been listening for any length of time, you know that I keep advocating about how business owners, self employed people, entrepreneurs, whatever it is that you call yourself, we need to have an information diet. We need to have some form of personal development regimen. So, yes, the usual stuff about physical fitness and mental health and everything. But we also need to have some form of learning on a regular basis where we're learning how to do the marketing function of a business. How do we let people know who we are? How do we let people know what we can do? How do we let people know our business exists, the problems that we solve, how our product or our service can be useful? So we need to be learning those sorts of things because we need to stay sharp. And so what I haven't done a good job of doing over on the podcast was also to stress that same training regimen for people who are employees of a business. So I've done a good job talking to the business owner over the past couple of years, but I haven't been talking to the employees. And so recent episodes have been some of the recent episodes have been directed towards employees, and this is one of those episodes. So it's continuing in that same vein about how and why employees need to take a sense of ownership and personal responsibility when it comes to their information diet and their personal development. Now, I stress this for a number of reasons. There are some people who don't want to do anything that is going to move Oga or Madam's business forward because there are some people who resent doing things that is going to make their Oga a millionaire or their Madam a millionaire, but they are not going to become a millionaire in the process. And for the sake of argument, yes, I am going to agree that if you take responsibility for your personal development and you go out and get coaches or you go out and look for learning material so that you can hone your craft, yes, I admit you will be making another person a millionaire and you won't be making yourself a millionaire. Well, in a sense. While for now, the outside rewards might go to the business owner, those of us who are involved in the sales role of the business, for those of you who are tied to the outcomes, you will see that you're going to be able to get a percentage of the pay. And I know that for you, that is still not a good enough reason because you say that ultimately the chief benefit goes to the Oga or the Madam of the business. And so for the sake of argument, let me just take it as a given and let me accept your premise. But there is one thing that you guys fail to consider. That is those of you who are refusing to make your Oga or your Madam a millionaire. In refusing to make Oga and Madam a millionaire, you are also impoverishing yourself where you are today. You're staying with Oga, you're staying with Madam, you're learning nothing new, you're collecting your salary, and that is the only benefit that you shall receive. So, you can stay 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years with Oga. Okay, well, these days, nobody stays 20 years. But the point I'm trying to make is this. You can spend a bunch of time with someone, whether it's a year or 2 years, and gain absolutely nothing but the salary that you have. In that case, let's forget who wins. But obviously, who is the person that loses? The person that loses is you. You are labor costs. And since you have not tried to improve yourself in any way, you're replaceable, you can easily be swapped out. Oga will replace you with someone else, Madam will replace you with someone else, and move on. The business still goes. This is something that we know, and this is something that we see. Because we all have that favorite shop, that favorite restaurant, that favorite whatever that we go to, and our usual server or our usual attendant is there one day, and then one day the attendant is not, and the business continues. So you are a labor cost and you can easily be swapped out. So the very least that you can do while you're in this situation is try and improve yourself, learn how to sell better, learn how to market better, so that you can acquire skills that will go with you and that will help you to improve your own business or whatever it is that you do after you leave your employer. So, if your Madam is Sandralia boutique wears, Guagualada, or whatever, Do your best. YouTube, motivation, podcast, whatever, and learn on the job. So that when you say, I have had it, and I'm no longer going to be under Madam Sandra Leah, I'm going to use my savings. I'm going to buy one small shop in the corner, and then I'm going to open my own shop. At least, while you're Madam Sandra Leah, and you tried improving yourself and learning, excuse me, you would have learned some skills on how to have conversations with customers, how to market to customers, how to attract them, how to negotiate with them, how to handle pricing, how to handle merchandising. If you spent 2 years with Madame Sandra Leah in her shop, and then you learned all these things in 2 years, when you now open your own shop, you are starting a step up or several steps up because you've used Madame Sandra Leah's business to practice a whole bunch of stuff. But if you say, I will not make Madame Sandra Leah a millionaire, I see her children traveling abroad, and I resent that fact that it's my blood, sweat, and tears that are making her children go abroad and study for masters. And you say that I will just show up at 8 o'clock and sit in the shop and then do nothing but be on my phone or watch Big Brother until 5, and then I clock out and then I leave. You are the one who is losing because the time is going to pass regardless. You might as well spend the time improving yourself, because if you're with Madame Sandra Leah for 2 years, the 2 years will pass regardless. If the 2 years has passed and you have learnt nothing and you haven't applied yourself in any way, you are the one who is worse off for it. Because Madame Sandra Leah's children will still go abroad and they will still do masters. She'll just swap you out. You're here today, tomorrow you're gone. She'll get somebody else. It continues. Her and her children, they'll be fine. So, the most selfish thing to do actually in this situation actually is to look at yourself and see how you are improving yourself while you are with your current employer. Look for material. Learn. This podcast shouldn't be the only one that you're listening to. Pick a bunch of other stuff too. Once in a while on the podcast, I mention other things that are important, but I'm not a specialist in. Like in my earlier series where I spoke about what else? Like cash flow management, time management, all these sorts of things, how they're important in growing sales. So I'm not a specialist in those sorts of things. So if I mention that and you think, oh, these are wonderful skills that I need to learn, get on Google, get on YouTube, check out the podcasts, find more stuff like that and develop yourself. As you develop yourself, do it with a pen and paper, write down some stuff that you can practice for free tomorrow or starting today, the day that you have learned it. So today's episode is in that same vein. I'm speaking with a sales team for one of my clients, 3 of them, and my time with them is coming to an end. So I've used the final week to try and see how I can get them into the habit of personal development, because they think they have a habit of personal development, but in my own opinion, it's zero. So there's someone who attends seminars in the team, but the thing is, the last seminar he attended was 2 years ago. Attending seminars every 2 years, that's not really self-improvement or personal development. In fact, in the legal profession, I haven't been a lawyer for a very long time, but back when I was there and people used to talk about professional development and stuff like that, at the very least, NBA conference, 1 year, annual, you show up, there are different sessions, there's a business development committee, there's investment committee, there's ethics committee, there's different committees. So at least once a year you show up and everybody learns something new. And that's the law. People say lawyers are not very forward thinking. So for lawyers that are not forward thinking folk, we expect that at least once a year you're doing something to improve yourself. So no matter the profession that you're involved in, if you say you're doing something every 2 years and then because of that you have a habit of personal improvement or self-development, you're deceiving yourself. At the very least, let it be once a year. Now, that was in the old days, where if you wanted to improve yourself, you actually had to go someplace and then pay money. Because let's rewind the clock 30 years ago. For the young lawyer, that was the only way you could learn. MBA conference is coming up. The MBA president and a bunch of other people have hooked up some seminar. So people are going to come and talk. So that's the only way you can do it. You get on the plane or you get on the bus, you go to Enugu or you go to Lagos or you go to Abuja, wherever the thing is heading. And then you go and learn. But now things have changed. So still do the MBA conference or still do whatever it is that, all the old school stuff. But now you have YouTube and now you have a bunch of other stuff. And lawyers have been taking advantage of that. I've seen some people who are still in the profession. They are online learning services and libraries and things like that people can access on the daily. There's recorded seminars and all sorts of things that are available on YouTube. And so you can take advantage of this thing as well. Even if you work with Madam Sandra Leah. There's stuff on YouTube about, merchandising, how to run an online store. In case you're interested in the online aspect of Madam Sandra Leah's business. Let's say you're more interested in how Madam Sandra Leah organizes the Instagram handle. There's lots of stuff there about how you set up your Instagram page, engagement, creating content, lead generation over Instagram. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can be learning. So take advantage of that. Anyway, so like I said, I've been trying to get these people into a learning habits, personal development habits, information diet, and all that. So what I recommended to the team was that they listen to a podcast called the Sales Influence Podcast by Victor Antonio. Now, the reason why I recommended Victor Antonio's podcast to them was because Victor Antonio, on average, his episodes are 10 minutes. And I'm dealing with some people who didn't have a sense of, who didn't have these habits before. So if I say that they listen to my own podcast, where episodes sometimes enter 30, 45 minutes, I've done a few that are over an hour, that'll be too much. So I just want something that is short, sharp. Now this team is based in Lagos. Except for the very lucky few, commute in Lagos is like 30 minutes if your commute is short. On average, I'll say commute is like 1 hour. As in going to work will take you 1 hour. Coming back will take you 1 hour. So my assignment to them was take Victor Antonio's podcast. Each episode is 10 minutes. Make sure you listen to one, whether driving to work or driving from work. Listen to it. Pick any one of your choice. Make a note of what the fellow is saying. Let's hear what you agree with. Let's hear what you don't agree with. And let's hear how you can apply it to your station in the business today. So that was my simple assignment. And that's what I've been doing for the last week. Yeah, almost the last week. And I'm glad that they've been having fun. And we've been exploring all kinds of themes. And it has led to wonderful conversations with the team and opportunities for learning and exchanging ideas. And that is something that I'm going to recommend that you do in your businesses. For those of you who are business owners. I would like your consulting money. So if you pay me, yeah, I'll take it. But you can take podcasts like mine. I know one sales leader who that's what she does. She takes one episode from my podcast that she likes. She now gives it to her team. She tells the whole team, everybody listen to it. Monday morning, we're going to come and discuss. And that's how they've been using my podcast. So, yeah, I don't mind at all. Don't worry, don't feel like you'll be ripping me off. Please do that. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be my own podcast. There are other people that are out there. Just go and search YouTube. Victor Antonio, I recommend Victor Antonio because each episode is 10 minutes long. You really have no excuse, especially for people who live in Lagos. You can't say you didn't have 10 minutes driving to work or being in the bus to work or driving back from work or being in the bus from work. You can't say you couldn't find that 10 minutes. So, let us try and instill this habit in our businesses, business owners. Try and do this on a weekly basis. Pick one something, give it to them. All of you go and listen. Monday morning, sales meeting. We're going to discuss, based on what we've seen, what are we going to apply to the business today? How can we move it forward? You're developing them. You're developing your business. If your guy is not going to do this, and if your madam is not going to do this, then do it yourself. Pick one. Listen or watch if you're a YouTube person with a pencil and paper. Write down the one that you know and that you can apply confidently and that you can apply for free. I keep emphasizing this free thing because sometimes people say, oh, this is a good idea, but before I do this, I have to go and buy this. Or before I do this, I have to go and invest in that. That is just giving you excuses. So just pick the one that you can do conveniently for free. All the other ones that you have to buy something to go and do, you'll get to that later. So you should be doing that yourself if your Oga or Madam is not going to do that for you. Because you won't be with Oga or Madam forever. You're going to leave. You're going to set up your own business. Or your husband might set up a business and you'll be able to use the skills there to boost his business. Or your wife might set up her own business and it looks as if this thing is moving. It makes sense for me to resign from Okechukwu and Sons and then invest more time in this thing that my wife is doing because it looks like it's popping off. After all, this one is our own. If I invest in this one and we're able to double, triple the business, it is us that will enjoy. And our children too can go to fancy schools, I didn't offend anybody. So why is it my own children that should suffer? That kind of thing. So invest in yourself. You don't have to pay money. Podcasts are free. YouTube is free. Unfortunately, biros are now expensive. Last time I went to buy a biro, I think it was it 200 or 300 naira for a biro? I was shocked. Since when the biros become... Because how I get my biros, to be honest, is, I just go to my wife's bag and then I pull out the biro and then that's it. I have a biro. Since she was, in exam phase, she had to keep her own writing material. So when my kids messed up my biro supply, I had to go and buy my own. So, I was shocked. So yeah, unfortunately, biro is like 200, 300 card. So buy a biro. Those flip jotters, there's still some not too good quality ones are less than 500 card. Just buy one or two of those. And then that's it. You have your study journal and then start writing in it. In fact, just so you know that this thing is not theory, let me just share with you the last session that I did with these people. One of the videos that the ladies watched, it's two ladies and a guy. I can't remember the title, but something about 5 things to do and 2 things not to do when talking to customers. And then so that was from Victor Antonio's videos. And so the things that we ended up debating was Victor Antonio's prescription. So Victor Antonio says that when you're talking to customers, listen to understand. It's something I've been harping on the podcast. You listen to understand because it is only when you understand that you can make an effective proposal. Now, Victor Antonio didn't say that part, but this is me adding it. A lot of times I'm making proposals that fall on deaf ears because it is not relevant. I told you about the time when I wanted to go and buy, actually my wife deceived me. She said we were going to go and buy clothes for the kids. I went there and I only budgeted for the kids. And then next thing she's like, oh, by the way, they have adult trousers. Your trousers is old and blah, 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 blah. So we started looking for jeans for me. So that's how my wife deceived me. Well, by the way, the jeans are real nice, very sturdy. So for me, I was concerned about buying a pair of jeans that is not going to split down the middle because everything I wear splits down the middle or splits down the armpit because, I'm a big dude and I move around a lot. But this person kept talking about how this was high quality UK something. I don't give a hoot about stuff like that. I just want something that does not split down the middle. If the person was listening and paying attention, the person would have taken the proposal or the presentation from that angle. Like, bro, this one, doubly reinforced, this thing is not going to split down the middle at all. In fact, UK designers, this is how they all make their clothes. You see? So, instead of putting the whole UK thing on top, because there's some people that are impressed by that thing, that this is from UK, this is from Milan. That's what some people are after. I'm not at that level yet. Maybe one day I'll worry about those things. Is this thing from Milan? Is it from Italy? Or is it from Egypt or whatever? So they should have made their proposal or the presentation that way. That look, this one, see the double seam, see the double stitching. This thing is not going to tear at all. In fact, you see the one that I'm wearing is the same thing. I'm a big guy just like you. You see the double stitching. This thing has not torn. I have worn it for the last 6 months. this thing is not going to tear. And by the way, UK brands, that's the reason why we recommend them, blah, 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 because, they don't tear this, that, the whole sales thing. So listen to understand. When you understand, you're going to be able to make an effective proposal or presentation. Victor Antonio also says pause and reflect. I recommend pausing and reflecting because you hear a bunch of stuff. Sometimes you need to think. The thing that this guy has said, this thing that this customer has said, which one makes sense, which one is rubbish, and what's going to be my strategy next. So pause and reflect. So I gave them a tip about how I pause and reflect, and that is by always having my pencil and pen always on hand. And I always tell people that, I hope you don't mind, I'm making a note of some stuff because I don't want to forget the conversation that we've had. I want to be able to serve you appropriately, so I'm writing down stuff, and then people don't mind. While I'm writing, it's giving me time to pause and reflect. Victor Antonio also says ask for clarification, and I also advocate for that too. Ask for clarification. Oga, if I heard you correctly, what you mean by that is this, and that. If the man now says, oh yeah, you're correct, then good. You now know that you've understood him correctly. You can continue, and that can be a part of your presentation. But if the person says, young man, that is not what I said. Oh, by the way, that has happened to me. I asked for clarification, and then the man looked at me and said, look, young man, that is not what I said. And then he now said it. I said, oh, okay, I'm very sorry, sir. Okay, thanks. I think I understand now. Blah, blah, blah. And then he says, yes, very good. Now, when you do that, you now know that you have missed the mark. If you don't ask for clarification, like when that guy said, young man, this is not what I said, you continue as if all is well. Quarrel will now start in the future. This is how quarrel starts in the future, because you don't ask for clarification. You assume all is good. You assume you understood everything correctly. And then that's how you will start fighting on later. And you say, but okay, I thought you said. So, ask now. Then Victor Antonio also says, ask open-ended and emphatic questions. That's also something I talk about on the podcast and that I've been telling members of the team. Don't ask questions that people can answer. Yes, no, or, all those one-word answers. Ask open-ended questions. Who, why, what, when, where, how, whom, those questions need somebody to actually tell the story. You say, Oga, what happened to your microwave oven? It asks that kind of question. The man actually has to say, well, the microwave was working on fine, but then my son took a spoon and put in the microwave. He decided to microwave a spoon and clay, and the thing just sparked, and now I don't know what happened. So you see, you ask questions like that. Okay, what happened to your microwave? What happened? Who, why, what, when, how, whom, all those questions. The person has to answer with the story. So open-ended questions give you all the information that you need to be able to make the right diagnosis and make an effective presentation. Now, one part of the session that now turned out to be insightful was the don't part, because Victor Antonio says don't interrupt. And yes, I recommend that too. Please try, because I know some customers can be very annoying. They don't know jack and they're just talking OPT, they're talking off point. But don't interrupt, just allow. It's hard, but just allow. Because if you interrupt, you're prolonging the quarrel, because the person just wants to get stuff off his chest or her chest. You keep interrupting, you're prolonging this matter. Just keep quiet and let this person vent. Let them let off some steam. As they're venting, you will now be able to figure out like, okay, this is actually what is paining this guy, or this is actually what is paining this girl. So you now know exactly what it is that you need to address. So don't interrupt. Then Victor Antonio also says, do not use but in conversations with clients. Now, that was something that the team disagreed with, because the team, they sell solar panels, inverters, batteries, those sorts of things. They push back on that. They said there are some situations where they have to say but, especially when the customer is wrong. But anyway, I didn't want to argue with them too much, so I just freed them on that one. But this is the thing. In normal parlance, in normal talk, whenever somebody is talking and then the person says but, the average person feels as if when the person said but, the person is now ready to speak his mind. So all the thing that the person was saying before the but is just rubbish. The but thing now, this is the main thing. So the person discards everything that came before. So if you want to say, oh, Oga, this is a good choice, this is a good choice of inverter, and this, that, but, the person will say, oh, okay, the truth is now coming. So all the one that you said before was false. So those are the reasons why some sales trainers like Victor Antonio, even me, I actually say that, look, the but thing, like, be careful. But can put you in a lot of trouble. Please, let's look for other ways. So what I told them to do was, instead of saying, but so, and so, I told them to ask a question. Have you considered? So somebody can say this and this and this and this and this, and that's the reason why I think this is the best. You just say, oh, okay, sir. Have you considered that if you do this, so and so will happen? So that was something that we came up in the team. The one example that the lady was in charge of solar sales, that's one of the things she brought up. That somebody insists that they want to buy 3.5 kVA inverter, but actually, if you consider everything, 5 kVA is the one that makes sense. So if the person says this, that 3.5 kVA, what you have to do is say, oh, sir, have you considered what will happen if you now switch on these 4 ACs at the same time on the 3.5 kVA? And then you leave it like that. And then you hear what the person has to say. That is how you're going to point out that, okay, if you switch on 4 ACs on the 3.5 kVA, you overload the system, inverter will pack up, batteries will get spoiled, and, blah, blah, blah. So it's not by saying but. If you put but, you're making the man or the woman turn out to be a fool. But if you ask a question, have you considered? It's a different thing. You're just suggesting, like, the ball is in your court, it's your own money. But have you considered? So, anyway, this is almost 30 minutes, so let me just bring it to a close here. But you can see how this simple exercise, you guys go, listen to this video. As you're listening, make a note. What makes sense to you? What doesn't make sense? The one that makes sense, what can we apply? You can see how you sit down, you have a 30-minute conversation. You are going to be developing your team. So business owners do that. If your guy or madam is not going to do that for you, do it yourself. You see that you're developing yourself. So that when you leave your place of current employment, you open up your own shop and you are now selling your own inverters or your own diesel engines or your own whatever. You will now have a very solid sales process, customer service process, marketing processes, everything customer facing. So this is the reason why I advocate excuse me, this is the reason why I advocate these sorts of exercises. So please, it doesn't have to be my own podcast, but just pick one. There are plenty on YouTube. Get a paper, get a pen. The exercise is very simple. This thing I'm listening to, what is this guy saying? The one that doesn't make sense, write it down. The one that makes sense, write it down. That one that doesn't make sense, go and talk to your colleagues. You never know, they might give you a different perspective. But for the one that makes sense, which one can I apply today for free? That doesn't require me buying something or doing whatever. The one that you can do today, go ahead, do it. You're going to be better off for it. And yes, it will be hard when your paycheck comes in, the money looks small, and then you hear that your Oga has now sent his son for masters abroad. Yes, it will be hard, and the thing will be paining you. You say, so it's my own blood, sweat, and tears that is paying for this boy's masters abroad. Don't look at that level. Forget the fact that Oga's son is doing masters, or that Madam's daughter just got married and they booked a hall in Lekki where they sat 5,000 people or whatever. Don't look at all that one. Just focus what's in it for you. Your own is that you're learning and that you're improving yourself, so that when you leave and you go and start up your own thing, you'll be starting from a step higher than other folks. So that's it for today. Connect me on WhatsApp. Phone number is 080-6466-2140. Country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian. Then connect me on LinkedIn. Best place for business, career development, personal development, all that good jazz. The name to look for is Tavishima Ayede. That's my name. I'm the host of the show. You can confirm the spelling of my name from the link where you're currently listening to this episode. If you're listening to this on YouTube, then you look at the bottom, I think that's bottom left of the video. You see my name right there, just above the video title, podcast title. So that's it. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.